Welcome to the deep dive. So today we've analyzed a huge stack of your sources. We're talking national forecasts, local reports, all focused on one place, Indianapolis, Indiana.
Right.
And our mission here is to really cut through those numbers and figure out the spring 2026 housing market, a time you sources are calling, pretty boldly, the Great Housing Reset.
And that phrase, the Great Housing Reset, it's more than just a catchy term. What the data is really telling us is that for anyone thinking about a move in central Indiana, spring 2026 is a genuine window of opportunity for buyers and for sellers.
What's driving that?
It's two things we just haven't seen in a while, at least not at the same time. Inventory is finally going up, and it looks like interest rates are starting to stabilize.
Before we jump into all that, we have to establish why Indy's even getting this kind of attention. I mean, this isn't just local hype.
Not at all.
The National Association of Realtors, the NAR, has Indianapolis as the #4 home buying hotspot in the entire country for 2026. So this isn't just a market that's surviving, it's set up to outperform.
That NAR ranking is really the starting point for this whole deep dive. If you want to understand why Indy is staying so strong while, other places are dealing with price drops or stalled sales, you have to look at the macro picture. It's all about its balance.
Okay, so let's unpack that balance. Why Indianapolis? The sources keep mentioning steadiness, but the numbers are what's really key here. And it seems to start with affordability.
It absolutely does. When we look at the housing affordability score, Indianapolis gets a 0.89.
Which sounds a little abstract on its own.
Right, but then you compare it to the national score, which is way down at 0.67.
So let's put that into perspective for you. Think of it like this. For every dollar a family needs to spend on housing nationally, a family in Indy only needs about 89 cents.
Exactly.
That gap is the core of its resilience. It's a huge buffer.
And that affordability isn't happening in a vacuum. It's backed by some really solid economic growth. We're talking job growth projected at over 1.1%.
Plus all the infrastructure projects, right? Like the
Yeah.
transit expansions.
For sure. And what's really crucial is that this growth is tied to specific companies. The sources explicitly mention Eli Lilly, for instance, driving these massive relocation moves into the area.
And that's not just jobs. That's a signal of long-term confidence in the region, which just fuels more demand.
Exactly. So when you look at the consensus from, NAR, Realtor.com, Redfin, they all see national sales up maybe 1.7 to 14%, prices up a little, 2 to 4%.
Modest gains.
Very modest. But Indianapolis is expected to beat those averages, and it's precisely because of those specific job and infrastructure advantages that the rest of the country doesn't have in the same way.
Okay, so that brings us right to the heart of this great reset. It's really all about two things, right? Supply and borrowing costs. Let's start with supply, because that seems to be the big change it's favoring buyers.
It is. We've been seeing a really significant inventory surge. Your sources are pointing to a jump of 20, maybe 30% compared to 2025.
Wow.
Right now, the data snapshot shows over 6,000 homes on the market.
And to put that 20 to 30% jump into context for you, for every 10 homes you saw for sale last year, now you're seeing 12 or 13. That's a difference you can actually feel when you're out looking.
And that supply shift, it directly changes the case of the market.
Yeah.
The leverage has really moved away from sellers. We're seeing that reflected in the days on market, the DOM, which is now sitting around 30 to 50 days.
A 30 to 50 DOM is just a whole different world from the instant sales of 2024. But does that risk scaring off sellers who remember those bidding wars? Could homeowners just decide to stay put?
That's a valid concern, and if it ships too fast, you could see some volatility. But right now, the rate environment is really the key. That's the other side of this reset.
Okay.
Right now, mortgage rates are averaging around 6.3%. But what's getting the market excited is the hope of some rate relief coming.
That's the light at the end of the tunnel everyone's been waiting for. What are the big projections saying?
Well, Fannie Mae is suggesting that rates could dip into the low sixes or maybe even sub 6% later in the year. And that potential for even a small drop is what could just trigger a huge surge in demand.
So what does that mean for all those buyers who've been sitting on the sidelines? Give us the hard number.
If rates do dip towards that 6% mark, the analysis projects it could unlock over 42,700 qualifying households just in the local area.
Wait, 42,000?
42,700. It is an enormous amount of pent-up demand just waiting.
That number is incredible. So that demand plus the rising inventory. That's why the sales forecast is so strong. A 15 to 18% jump.
Exactly.
It really feels like a strategic window. But I'm guessing that opportunity isn't spread out evenly across the whole metro, is it? We need to know where the demand is going.
Absolutely not. The key takeaway from looking at the submarkets is variance. So overall growth in Indianapolis might look modest, 2 to 4%, but then you look at the suburbs and it's a completely different story.
Wait, so if the suburbs are hitting like 10 or 12% growth, but the overall market is only at 2 to 4, how does that affect someone buying in Indianapolis proper? Does all that money flooding into Carmel and Fishers hurt downtown?
That's a great question. Indy proper actually remains the affordability leader. It has this wide median price range, somewhere between $224,000 and $310,000. It's absorbing a lot of that new inventory.
So it's kind of insulated.
To a degree, the high growth areas are attracting those high earning relocators, which is why their projections are so much stronger.
Let's break down those three big suburbs from the sources. Start with Fishers.
Okay, Fishers is projected for really solid growth in that 5 to 10% range, and the drivers are pretty clear. It's family demand, amenities like the Geist waterfront, and pretty quick commutes.
And the median price there?
It's sitting between $350,000 and $434,000. It kind of hits that sweet spot for move-up families who want great neighborhoods but aren't quite in that top-tier luxury market yet.
Okay, next up is Carmel, which is a step up in price and has some of the biggest growth numbers. What's the story there?
Carmel is all about that high-end relocation market. We're looking at projected growth of a massive 12%. It's defined by luxury estates. The sources mention Bridgewater and West Clay elite schools, and that strong pull from tech and pharma relocations. It ties right back to the Eli Lilly effect we talked about.
And the median price definitely reflects that, $450,000 up to $650,000.
Yeah, that's where the high net worth buyers are really concentrating.
And finally, Zionsville, which looks like it has the highest median price of all of them.
Zionsville is projected for the strongest growth, actually, between 7 and 11%. It's all about these serene legacy homes. It has a really strong appeal for, say, affluent downsizers who want a quieter environment without giving up that prestige.
And the median price is?
The highest of the group, between $500,000 and $800,000. It's fascinating because the appeal is so different, right? Carmel is for the corporate ladder climber, and Zionsville is more for the long-term wealth holder who wants tranquility.
That variance gives you, the listener, a pretty clear roadmap depending on your budget. Okay, so let's turn all this into an actionable playbook. If you are one of those 42,000 buyers waiting to jump in, what do you do right now?
For buyers, the key is to move early and be proactive. First thing, get pre-approved immediately, lock in that 6-ish% rate environment before the full spring chaos hits and competition spikes.
And with more inventory, the strategy has to include aggressive negotiation, right? I mean, we saw that 56% of listings had price cuts in late 2025.
Absolutely. That is a huge indicator of seller motivation. Buyers should be negotiating on price, on contingencies, and if speed is what you need, target homes under that $300,000 mark in Indy proper. That's the sweet spot.
What about for a buyer looking at, say, a $350,000 home in Fishers? They've got more competition, but also more inventory. What's the number one rule for them?
The key rule there is to avoid overbidding. You don't have to anymore. You have time to breathe. The inventory is there. And I can't stress this enough, focus on inspections. Don't waive those critical protections just because you're in a hot area.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, let's flip it. If you're a seller, what's your playbook? The leverage is not what it was.
For sellers, it all comes down to realism and presentation. First, price, realistically, right from the start. Don't look at 2024 comps. Second, staging is more important than ever. It can get you offers that are 1 to 3% higher.
And timing is everything, especially with all these buyers about to jump into the market.
Yes, list early in the spring. You want to catch that first wave. And if you have a high-end property, say, near the Geist waterfront, you have to highlight what makes it premium. Generic descriptions just won't work anymore.
Okay, before we wrap this up, we need that dose of realism, the risks and realistic outlook section. What could derail this perfect spring reset?
This is the big question. What if that rate relief never really shows up? The risks are basically threefold. One, stubborn inflation keeps rates above that 6% mark and buyers just stay home.
Okay.
Two, broader recession fears kick in and that corporate relocation slows down. And three, inventory keeps climbing so fast that sellers who wait too long lose even more negotiating power by the middle of the year.
That's some crucial perspective. We've covered a ton of ground today, from Indy's top 4 national ranking all the way down to strategy. But the core takeaway seems pretty clear. Spring 2026 is an optimistic reset for the Indianapolis housing market,
It is. It's a moment of peak activity and improving affordability.
a real window of opportunity.
It is. So if we tie all this together for you,
Oh.
we've seen Indy's strength comes from two very different pillars. You have the strong corporate money-fueling luxury growth in places like Carmel,
Wow.
and you have amazing affordability keeping Indy proper active. So here's the final question to think about. If those projected lower rates don't happen this year, which of those pillars feels the slowdown first? Is it the high-end relocation buyers in Carmel? Or is it the affordability seekers downtown? That's the structural risk you should be mulling over as you watch this market unfold.